This is the Barita Podcast, which is a medium for information purposes only. This podcast is not a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. This isn't a research report, nor intended to serve as a basis for making any investment decisions. Contact a licensed investment advisor before making any financial decisions. Let's get into the Barita Podcast.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us for another episode of the Barita Podcast. You can see past episodes at barita.com/podcast. So today we have a special guest, Dave.
How you doing?
Good to meet you, man. Thanks for coming. Right, Dave Dixon, VP of Sales and Service. Senior VP. Sorry. Let's get that straight. Senior VP, Sales and Service. Right, I have that right.
You got that right.
Wonderful. Well, Dave, like I said, good to meet you before, but we've met. A long time. But what I meant to say is thanks for coming and thanks for the time. Right?
I appreciate this.
So, we can start out with, the new job. We spoke to Sansi and I was saying there's a lot of anticipation for you guys coming, right? You've been very excited. How's it been? Tell us about the role and, what it really is all about.
So, as Senior VP for Sales and Service, having joined the team February of this year, I'm pretty excited to be a part of this team. Before joining, I could sense the energy of the team. I know you guys wear nice suits and and like to be on camera. So I would have seen you on camera a lot before, and I would have done my homework. So I like the energy, and despite the gray hairs, I do carry some amount of energy myself.
Oh, for real.
And I like to be a part of a winning team.
Yeah.
So one of the first thing I did when I joined was trying to get to know the team.
Yeah.
I try and get my hands dirty. I try and get to know everybody, on a one-on-one basis. And I've connected well so far with the entire branch network. I've been to all the branches so far. I've met, I would believe, all of the retail team, and I've met a lot of the senior managers, and I can tell that with this kind of energy and this kind of diversity within the company, success is inevitable. And inevitable success doesn't mean that there are not going to be challenges along the way. But I do think that the team that is in place, that they are capable of getting past those challenges for even greater success. So I'm quite excited to be here. I'm quite excited to contribute to the further growth. Since the Cornerstone takeover, we have seen tremendous things that the company would have done. And my experience coming into Barita, I know I can add additional value to that, given my experience in both retail and investments over the years. Prior to joining Barita, I would have spent 25 years at a company, but not in the same job. I believe I probably would have had maybe 10 or 12 promotions throughout my life at the bank. Really, wasn't at the same place for too long. So this transition,
dynamic experience.
It was a dynamic experience. I had a love-hate relationship with deciding which side of the business I wanted to be on. But I felt good knowing I could transition to any side of the business, whether they want me in retail in a senior leadership position or they want me in investment in a senior leadership position. I could have transitioned, and I prepared myself for that because I really like all things finance.
I just want to say, Dave, just personally, in interacting with you since you come for the the occasions that I've had, I have to tell you, I like. The professionalism that you bring to the table is one thing, but the mix of the personal touch along with your own personal confidence, I'm impressed, right? I'm impressed with it, and I like your style.
Yeah, thank you. When I just moved from St. Anne to Kingston and started working at a bank in Ligani, a lot of people made the assumption that I attended a college in Kingston.
Yes.
So they were quite surprised.
Because you would have to be a JC man, have that swag, right?
Right. I dressed sharp then. So that, thank you. And, just that interaction with clients from an early age, stage of my career, I knew that knowledge about what you're doing was important. And that hunger for knowledge for me in my career started when customers started asking about other things that the bank offered, and I was like, but each time I would have to leave and go ask somebody, you know, when I just started, what is this? And then I say, you know what? I'm going to put myself in a position to answer any question.
Yeah.
Any question that is thrown at me.
That's a high bar. It's a very ambitious goal.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So it took a lot of reading.
Yeah.
I took all of the brochures. I looked for the policies, and I prepared myself.
So you have to give yourself homework and really dig into the material.
So exactly, and none of the promotions that I got, I was on any cross training. I prepared myself for all of what happened.
So self-taught, self-driven, self-motivated.
Knowing exactly which opportunities to go for. So that prepared me well for what I'm doing now.
So if this don't work out, you can be like a motivational speaker there.
It's something I've thought about. It's something I've thought about, to be honest with you. But, you know, nothing before its time.
Yeah.
I do believe that, you know, you learn from other people's experiences. One of my early motivation of doing well was that I wanted my own money. I wanted to be able to do things that I couldn't do when I was, you know, or wanted to be able to just even further my own education.
Yes.
And I recognize that the more you know, the more you learn, is the more you're capable of, you know, advancing to what you really want to do, and you're able to offer more help. You know, you can't fill up somebody's cup from an empty cup. You know, you're also blessed so that you can bless somebody else. So it's important that you continuously learn. So for example, I lead a team now of retail, both service and sales, of over 30 persons. They're looking to me for guidance. And I'm capable of pulling from my long experience real scenarios that have happened, real for the clients as well, real scenarios that have happened. In 2008, when the crisis hit, I mean, everybody thought that this was it.
So as a retail salesman, like in a crisis like that, unprecedented or 100-year storm, what's the approach that you take to
So the approach, at the time, you didn't know what was happening, but then you saw what unfolded.
Yeah.
And the same principles that we would have learned about investing, start investing early, and staying invested is really something that, if you look back in time, persons have been, talking about, and diversification. Yes. And when I look at clients who follow that strategy, they fared much better than persons who were investing against their own risk tolerance, because they didn't have the risk tolerance until the market turned in a different direction. It's not that they were speculating, but they felt that they had a particular risk tolerance, and they didn't. So listening to the advice of a qualified investment advisor can't be overstated.
Yeah.
Right? You have to trust an institution, and an institution such as Barita, with that deep research capacity and talent. The advisors, one of my goals is to ensure that all of my advisors can stand before anybody and have the most meaningful conversation about their unique circumstance, because every client situation is different.
So this is important. So I mean, we draw on those lessons from 08, because so we did the millennial money IQ piece, right? And in it we were saying millennials, they've seen the end of the world several times, right? So you had 08, as you were talking about, just coming of age, and it's a global financial crisis, worse since the Depression, right? European debt crisis, and then you come to something like the coronavirus pandemic. So after 08, we had this horrible recession, right? And you go through sovereign debt crisis, and now you have the pandemic, and then now here we are, people are talking about slowdowns again, people are talking about recessions again. So apply those same lessons, or I don't know if you have new lessons, right? But right now, how do you think we should be engaging the retail space given everything happening?
So the retail space is, we have to continue to be confident about what the strategy is. While you don't know what the future holds in any particular specific area, because there's always going to be something that's coming up. If you look, as you mentioned, immediately after we gotten over Corona to an extent in terms of the lockdowns and the restrictions, then came the Ukraine, which tells you that there's always going to be a reason not to invest.
Yes.
But if you're raising families and you have goals to achieve, there's always going to be a place for investing. So, and what you invest today is going to be what you're going to use in the future. People are going to need places to live. People are going to need food to eat. People still want to travel, and people still want to drive a nice car.
And the children.
And people will want to go to space eventually.
You want to go to space, by the way?
Not yet. So I say that to say there is, once you're having your budget an investment amount,
yes,
don't let a crisis let you stop that.
And isn't it, and it's true that, I mean, I've spoken on this before, and I said it's important to maintain your discipline in the crisis.
It cannot be understated.
Because a lot of time, a lot of the gains that you eventually reap down the road is because you maintain that discipline.
If you look at the statistics, the best performing month or week on any market is usually after the worst.
Yes.
Right? So if it is that you are serious about, making changes to your portfolio, look for when there's a crisis sometimes and just review it. Okay, how am I positioned at this point in time? Am I in line with my goals? Am I taking advantage of what is out there? And am I allowing the professionals to do their work? So for example, we have managed funds. We have the capital growth fund. We have the income portfolio. We have the FX and the real estate fund. No. Have you seen the return on the real estate fund?
I think everybody has seen the return.
Okay. I don't think everybody saw it.
It's a talk of the town, eh?
So over 600%, which means that you have to trust the people who are charged with investing the funds on your behalf, and touch base with a few clients to see how you feel after seeing such a phenomenal return on your investment. And that's why we invest. We invest for long-term gains. And, I'm sure the clients who are in the unit trust over a period of time, they would have seen gains on their investments. And it's one of the things that I want to, just encourage retail investors. Don't let the news of the day let you miss your goal of investing. Focus on the long-term strategy, because the goal of and the objective of the different funds that you are in, they're designed a certain way, and when the market is down, the fund benefits in the long run, as you benefit in the long run from the fund investing in that environment as well. So regularly investing is important. From an early time in investment, I said to friends who tell me that they don't have any money to start, I said, I have the experience to show you how to start from zero money to start in investing. Because if you don't have any money now to invest, it means you need somebody to look at what you're doing with the money you have.
Yes.
And if you and based on my experience, you may have some assets that you may have a mortgage that you may need to rewrite. You may have a property that just have so much value sitting in it. And if you were to just prepare yourself over a period of time, you could start investing,
and compound from there.
And compound from there. But you have to start from somewhere.
So, going back, you said a lot, going back a little bit. So, like my grandmother used to say, boy, she just want to see the children pass the worst, right? I never fully understood it, right? But even just now, when you mentioned the worst week, usually is followed up by the best week. Is it fair to say your advisor is here to see you through the worst as well, in terms of walking on that journey?
Yes, it cannot be an easy conversation with someone to say, look, your hard-earned money is down in value from where you invested.
Yes.
But everything in context. Yes. Because if you were investing continuously, what would have seen you may in the worst crisis ever, there are clients who have not lost any money from their principal. because of how they were positioned and how long they've been investing, and their average cost of investing would have been less. So yes, there are times when the initial amount may be down, depending on what you invest in and depending on if you were diversified enough, yes or no. But that's also an opportunity for you to look and say, okay, how can I reposition my portfolio? Because there are times when you have certain investment that you're going to have to use the information that you have and exit them. You may exit at a loss position on one, but the gains you have in the others can compensate for that. Does it mean you made a bad investment? No. You made an investment with the information you have at the point in time, and the best decision you could have made at the time.
And we're following a strategy,
and you're following a strategy.
Within a multi-layered strategy.
It's all within a multi-layered strategy. And what I would want the Barita prospective clients out there who are watching this podcast to understand is that we want to get to know what your goals are.
Yes.
It's important to share the goals with us because we are better able to guide you. Once you've done your roadmap, and that roadmap is important, it is taking you somewhere. So on a journey, there are going to be potholes in the road, but we are here to help you patch them and move forward or resurface the road. Anyone you want to do.
Hey Dave, you said a big thing. You said, boy, you have the experience to take somebody from having $0 to invest to starting and an investment portfolio and really going on that long run journey. That's huge, That's huge because you know that's a popular refrain out there.
Yes.
Boy, I have money if you invest. So
you
see a video then, but boy,
you don't have to have any money. You just have to want to invest.
Okay. And coming from you, that's a big thing.
Yes.
That's a big thing for me personally, and I think the viewers will find out why a little later. but yeah, you touched on a real estate story. That is, it's big now, but it's a culmination of a multi-year strategy.
Exactly. And if, as I said to the sales team recently, I said, guys, when you hear the research team and when you get this information, don't keep it to yourself, share it with your clients. This is the reason why you should buy, because it can fit in their portfolio. Someone out there is planning a family right now. Yes. And I'm sure they'll want to see that child go to college in 20 years. What is the strategy that you're going to use? You want to do that incrementally over time. And there are investments that are going to be suitable for that. And we are able to show you how to build that portfolio using the managed funds that we sell, the unit trust, or a portion of your portfolio in stocks. But we are able to sit with you, craft that plan, put your standing order in place for your serial investing, and you will watch that grow over time. The market will take care of the rest, because you don't know what the best day of the market is going to be, nor will you know the worst. But if you were to look at the purchases that people make on the worst day of the market, that's where they made the most money.
Yes.
Right? Absolutely. I recall, a certain large financial institution that was sold to a Canadian billionaire when that stock was $1.50.
Yes.
I mean, I may not look that old, but but the reality is not that long.
Yeah.
So if you were to, and in my early days, as a teller, I used to see a particular gentleman, as I used to run the senior citizen line back then, and he'd always come with these checks and they said dividends on them, and and I'm like, so and they say Carreras, so from long time. And when I look at the amount on the check, and now 20 odd years later, and I realize, for him to have gotten that amount on the check at the time, hundreds of thousands of dollars, he must have had a damn lot of shares. So I was like, damn. So being curious about stuff as well is important. And you ask about why am I qualified to, or why am I capable of my experience. These are things that I've done in my own life.
Yes.
My first piece of real estate that I bought, I didn't even know I had an idea where the place was, but I saw somebody lodging some checks up. I said, what are you selling? And when the guy told me, I said, how much for it? And I said, but I have an idea where that is. I said, I want peace. And without even going to look where it was, because I have a general idea. I made that decision.
All right. Hold on a day. We're gonna get to your great Daveness, right? I want to, because all of that stuff is very important. But I just wanted to tie a bow on where we were before.
Yes.
As you interact with clients, what are they saying in this time? What do the clients want to know?
Clients want to know that you have their best interests at heart. Clients want to know that you don't just looking for a sale and forget about them. They want you to remain in touch with them. They want you to be able to review their portfolio, and they want you to guide them on their investment journey. There are clients who have built their wealth already and want to preserve it, and want to know that you have the person that they're speaking to is knowledgeable about the market, and the person is capable of executing. The person is responsive, right? The person is capable of, highlighting in a confident way what direction they need to take based on what they would have outlined. So my goal is to ensure that the rep that is sitting in front of that prospective client is capable of delivering without getting me involved to an extent, because they are capable of handling all of the client's inquiries and needs, and able to guide them on that journey. And at the end of the day, the client wants to be satisfied with their overall return, because we want to help them achieve their goals, beat inflation, have that money for the vacation, have that money for the sports car, or just have that money for the first home that they're going to build. So that's really what they want to know. They want to know that if something is happening in the market as well, that there are channels in which they can get information from us. As you know, our website is full of information for our clients. These podcasts go a long way to help them, know more about investing, because the average investor can make money no matter what is happening in the market.
And the team is here to deliver all of that. The
team is here to deliver all of that. And based on my connection with them, they're on board.
Okay. And I was just going to put in just that one plug for long-term investing. When I just came to Barita in 2011, we could have bought that stock for $1.80. Right?
Can you do that now? Your dividend is probably $1.80.
Dividend $3 plus.
All right.
Right. So you sit there and you look at the stock now at 89, and you say, boy, so that's a 10-year win, right? About 11 years or so. But it's just to augment your point. Yes. It's a long run. It's a long run. I mean, in that time, we've seen MBX.
Exactly.
Right. We've seen the IMF basically threaten the finance minister. Right. We've seen bad recessions. We've seen all kind of things. But look at it. We've come through all of that.
One of the things that struck me in 2008, I think it was 2008 when the governor at the time put the interest rate back to 24%.
Wait, say that again. Sorry, you said the governor put interest rates where?
I can't test my facts, but I believe there was a time when there was when the former government, based on what was happening with the exchange rate.
Yes.
So the rate was running from 72 and it went up to, I believe it was 80 something. And, I checked the exact numbers.
Just huge moves.
There were huge moves in the market.
Yeah.
And the governor responded with putting rates back to about 24%. There were persons who were able to live comfortably on $20 million because they were earning the interest on that. At 24%, you get a decent change. But what happened after the JDX and the NDX was that interest rate came down on fixed income to less than 5%. So if someone moving from earning on say a $10 million investment, $2.4 million a year, to earning $500,000. Now, you can just imagine what that did to the lifestyle of that individual. Now, at the same time, persons that were invested in the stock market and so forth, if a portion of that money was invested differently from then, that person could have seen tremendous growth in their portfolio and would have been able to make back that 24% over time, to get to that level. Now, yes, we are seeing a period of rates going up in the market again, but it's still nowhere near what was possible. And there are stocks that are giving dividend yield close to what the rates are now. Yeah. So I said that to say diversification of your portfolio is important. Being risk averse doesn't mean that you're going to risk all of your capital to inflation. Because you are risk averse on one front because you're looking at the principle and saying this, you don't want this to change.
Yeah.
But the dollar that you have now is not going to be valued at $1 in a year.
No.
So while you may be getting a little older and you want to preserve as much of your capital as possible, there's still room for diversification. Because I don't know how long I'm going to live after retirement. So my money needs to outlive me. Not I outlive it.
You don't want to outlive it at all.
So there is always room because you've seen persons live a very long life. There are people living 30 years after retirement, 40 years after retirement. So you have to prepare yourself for that environment, and diversification allows you to do that. So you have some stocks, you have some bonds, you have managed funds, you have the real estate fund. All of those things should be in your portfolio.
So you definitely have a strategy to take care of the clients and get them.
Most definitely.
All right, great.
So if you have any doubts, come talk to me.
All right, it's time to talk about Dave.
Oh,
right? I know. But listen, it is an inspiring story, Dave. I don't want to give it away, but I tell us about the beginnings. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about it. And right now, you're a senior vice president at Barita, right? Barita is one of the oldest financial institutions that are, domestic in its origin, etc. And I mean, I think you've done well for yourself, right? That's something to be proud of in terms of where you've landed, where you are right now. But tell us about young Dave. Tell us where baby Dave is from.
Oh boy. So Dave, born in Kingston originally.
Okay.
I went to St. Anne at the tender age of 6 months old.
Oh wow.
So eventually I got the story as to how I ended up in St. Anne, and my mother still lived in Kingston.
You never found on a bus at 6
I never found on a bus in Kingston. So my father took me to St. Anne to live with my aunt, and so I all I knew was St. Anne. So interestingly, I was telling David, who works on the crew here, that for a long time I thought my name was David. So I found out when I was doing common entrance that's not really David, it's really Dave.
Really?
And I wasn't really born on the 7th of October, I was born on the 3rd. And that's...
You learned all of this about yourself getting ready for common entrance?
Getting ready for common entrance.
Wow, all right.
So, and that was because at the time you had to produce a birth certificate to go to get to do the exams. Yeah. And interestingly enough, my aunt sent for the papers in Kingston, and they came. So my friends who were with me at school at that time, they don't know that my name is not David. Okay. So when they see me, they still call me David. Yeah, and okay. I just accept it.
Yeah.
But my aunt really even though we didn't have much.
So you were with her from 6 months up to common entrance age?
I'm with her still. She's still my aunt. She's still in St. Anne. Really love her.
Yeah.
One thing she always, say to me very early, is, even watching television, she would say to me, son, those persons that you're watching have already made life. You need to go and do your homework, or go take up your book, or back in the country, go take up your book. That's the kind of thing that you're used to.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I'm very grateful for what she would have done for me, because she had her own kids. She didn't have to do it.
How many children she had?
She had 6 of her own, and
so you make 7?
I made 7.
Whoa!
And she treated me no differently.
Wow! This woman is amazing.
Yes, she definitely took good care of me. For some reason, I I always wanted to learn. And back to the whole common entrance thing. How I ended up doing common entrance again was the principal for the school came home to her one day and said, you know, the young man should try common entrance, because the truth is, I didn't think that was something possible for me, because where am I going to get the money from to leave my community to go to a high school where I'm not going to be able to do anything like that. So, but the encouragement alone that somebody saw something in me, that they would take the time to go and speak to my aunt and say, he's good at math, you should let him try the common entrance.
Sorry, which community is this in?
A district in St. Ann called Mile End.
Mile End.
Mile End.
Okay.
Yes, Mile End. It's if you've been to Blue Hole, it's on your way to Blue Hole and you get to a place called Lodge. It continues straight up past the Sandals has a golf course, not very far from, you know, maybe a couple of miles. Back in the day, it seemed near because we'd just run there and pick a few mangoes. But you know, the principal lived in the community. And the school would have been about 3 to 4 miles away from home. We'd walk to school on a daily basis. So she took the time to come and tell my aunt that I should try. So, but they presented a challenge, you know, when that happened, and I'm like, okay, so because she said to my aunt, if he's gonna go to do the common entrance, he's gonna have to do some extra lessons because he need to brush up here and brush up there. So we hit a snag, you know, it's because extra lessons cost $3 a week.
My goodness.
And I didn't have it.
Whoa.
Because I never needed lunch money to go to school. Meaning,
Big mango?
most days I didn't have any lunch money.
Okay.
So I have a friend, Anthony, actually spoke to him yesterday. From then, Anthony would share his lunch with me sometimes. And then there are days when, you know, the canteen, I think back in the day was maybe like 25 cents for lunch.
And even that was beyond.
And even that was beyond what I could afford.
But you see, just to backtrack, like for me growing up at least, like common entrance was a foregone conclusion, and there wasn't anybody coming to mommy to say, you know, I think you should take common entrance. You go to school and you know you're going to take common entrance when you get to grade 5, grade 6, right? But you're saying that in that time the children were selected?
No, you know, it's not that they were selected. It's just that it wasn't something on my mind or something, because where am I going to go? Which high school am I going to go? So
you were what?
I was just going to school.
You go to school and primary school and that's it? I mean,
well, the school went up to grade 9, so you know, could I leave and get a trade or something? That's really where my mind was. So when the principal came and spoke to my aunt and I said about this, I can't afford the extra lessons. It was $3. But I got the motivation one morning. I believe I know I was showering at the time. And it's one of those things that, you know, so sometimes when I hear people say that they hear something or, you know, they just got something and they just moved on it right away. They were obedient. And I was obedient that morning to the thoughts, because I was thinking about how am I going to do this?
Yes.
Which confirms to me that if you think about what you want to do hard enough and think of different solutions, ideas will come to you.
Okay.
It may be in the shower, it may be driving, and so forth. Wherever.
Focus.
So that $3 seemed daunting.
In some way.
Because I don't normally have $3 in one day.
Yeah.
That's not something I'm accustomed to.
Yeah. So
we had a large plum tree in the yard, which of course I'm responsible for making sure the yard's clean.
Okay.
You know, plum trees shed a lot of leaves.
I don't know anything about plum trees.
Okay.
But that's
June plum, that is. You see the guy sell sometimes at the stoplight. You know. And my aunt didn't want to see any leaves in the yard, so I used to have to rake that up twice a day, or you know.
Yes.
So, but something said to me, why not? It was plum season at the time. Why not just pick them, wash them, and take them to school and sell?
All right.
So I started doing that, during lunchtime, I would, everybody was busy buying lunch. I was trying to sell plums. To this day, I think a couple of my friends owe me for a few plums that they trust. But I think I fall out with one of them because of it, Can you just imagine a friend racking up a bill of about $1
in plums?
In plums, 20 cents, because the big ones were 20 cents.
Whoa.
But I said that to say, I was able to comfortably pay my extra lessons fee. And for the first...
The
$3? And for the first time, I was able to buy lunch. I was able to buy a bun and cheese and a soda.
What?
On some days.
So this is your first successful Dave Dixon.
This was our first
sales.
The plum sales.
All right.
But plum of a season.
How old are you at this time?
I would have been about 11.
A businessman is born.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, I used to just backtrack a bit. So I had a little wheelbarrow. So my neighbor sometimes would send me to, get a bag of feed, the chicken feed. Yeah. So, at my age, I couldn't put that on my back. So
you get a wheelbarrow.
Use my little wheelbarrow and I would get maybe $2 for carrying it and stuff like that. So I had a little hustle.
Yeah. Business of
but the money for the, came from the selling of the plum. And I started to panic when the plum season was coming to an end. And again, the mind kicked in. And my neighbor, who is my aunt's sister, she used to work at a wholesale in Ocherius. So I went to her one evening. On the last week of the plum season, I had a goal. I said, okay, after paying for extra lessons, after everything else, I go into her and I said, so how much for a bag of sweets at the wholesale? And she told me, I said, all right. So I set my goal that I need to pay for extra lessons and I need to save $2. It was $2 for the bag of ice cement at the time.
So you got $5 now, Dave?
Yeah, so I was making enough money. Man.
You roll it, sorry.
I was making a little money back then.
All right, okay.
In total, it was less than $10 a week, but I was making a little money.
Because, $3 was insurmountable not too long before that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But I was a little nervous because it was $2, after paying what I had to pay, I had $2. And I said, all right. And I gave it to her. The challenge with that is, I think when I had to go home and give it to her, then I have to wait until she go to work the next day and come back. So it kind of slowed down the business a little bit, but I was fortunate enough to make a profit. So I got the sweets, just cut it long story short. And when I sold it the day, I was able to buy 2 bags. So I bought 2 bags. I made a more than 100% profit on the bag of sweets.
All right.
So I started, just compounding the purchases.
Yeah.
So I started paying for my extra lessons. I started compounding the purchases and I started adding new things. So I started adding peanuts. I started adding chewing gums. I started adding lollipop because...
So you're diversified.
Right. So my aunt, she used to go Coronation Market and sell stuff and she would, so things are a little cheaper in town. So I asked her to buy some bigger bags of sweets for me, make a little more profit. So that business was successful. Oh, by the way, I never passed the common entrance.
You lied. After all
of that. So... but all wasn't lost.
We caught up ourselves.
No, all wasn't lost. The good thing is that, the principals came back to my aunt and said, I'm going to find out from the ministry why him never passed.
Okay.
So
this principal really believed in you?
The principal believed in me. And they came back and told me and said, boy, the maths was good, the mental ability was good, but you fell down on the English language. And I said, all right, work on it. So, but because I went to an all-age school, there was a grade 7. And I think I got a little distracted with the business as well. Yeah. Because even teachers started buying from me. They had those peanuts in the little red bags that So that was the hottest seller when I started selling that.
So like you need to hire someone.
So I was able to save enough money And I remember my first major purchase, two of my first major purchases that I remember. The first one was a goat. I bought a goat.
You bought a whole goat?
I bought a whole goat for $80.
A living, breathing goat?
A living, breathing goat.
Okay, all right.
And the goal of buying the goat was to raise them and sell them.
To make more goats.
To make more goats.
Multiply goats and
yeah.
sell.
And I think I got about 2 or 3 sets of kids out of the goat. And the dog eventually ate the mother. My neighbor's dog, I was so upset.
Can you imagine?
Right, so I was able to raise the goats. So that was my first major purchase. My next major purchase was the first time I was doing this now. I walked into, no, it wasn't a cow. I walked into Ocherius Market one Saturday and I was able to buy a pair of gentleman shoes for $120.
All right.
You know, and looking back at it all.
Wait, hold on, you said $120?
$120.
Right, your floss.
It was
Dave, whoa. So you're gonna
I think it was a Georgia Bertini at the time.
Sorry.
Yeah. I don't know if you wouldn't know them. You wouldn't know.
No, I know the brand.
Right.
I know the brand, but I'm just aghast at the man that is focused trying to get to $3. Right? Now you're buying goats and jets.
Yeah, I was past that. And
this is at the ripe old age of
ripe old age.
How old are you at this time?
I was 12 going on 13. Because things really, within a year I was able to buy the goat. From the business. So I recall, having not passed the common entrance. Now they have grade 7 achievement, which would prepare you for a technical high school. So prior to finance, I liked carpentry.
Okay.
So that was I was thinking of that. So I passed the grade 7 now. I passed for Linfield Technical High School actually.
Oh. Yes, Linfield.
Yeah, but that Linfield is far.
Yes, Linfield is far.
And the only way I could go to Linfield is unless I board. Never have any money for boarding. So my aunt said, well, you have 2 options. You can go back to the school you passed from. That's unheard of because you have 2 more grades can go. Or you get a transfer to a school that is close by. So I went to there is a high school in St. Anne's Bay, Marcus Garvey Technical High School. And at the time it was a secondary school. It has just switched over to a high school. And I went down there to check it out, and she sent her daughter with me, who was a teacher at the time, and just to inquire. And when I went, so just imagine the office is full with persons trying to look at transfer from the school, and I'm trying to come, and they're like, when they hear where I'm trying to transfer from, they're like, are you crazy?
As in from Dintil?
I want to transfer from Dintil to go there. They pass to Marcus and don't want to go. That was an experience. I started going Marcus Garvey Tech, and I spent 4 years there. Common entrance at the time, I still had to manage my expectations in terms of finances. And so my goal was so during summers I would work, because I was responsible for myself mostly.
Oh, really?
Meaning my aunt would just provide food, shelter, but I still have to
supplement.
plan my going back to school. So I went to the tailor myself. I worked in the summer. I sought out everything for myself.
At 13 years old.
Yeah, man, everything for myself. I do it. I go back to school, check it out, know what I'm supposed to do, make sure that my uniform is ready, all of those things. So I would do odd jobs in the summer.
Oh.
So I did 4 subjects. I got 3 2s and a 3. And I started. For some reason I started working at place called Hurry Hurry that summer. After leaving high school, started working at Hurry Hurry in Ocherius.
What is that?
It's a Sinclair's Bargain Center, but it was a department store that sell really cheap stuff back then. Angela Sinclair, she gave me the job. She knew an aunt of mine that had a hairdressing shop in Ocherius, but she really liked how I worked. So when I left high school, in the summer, kind of initially it felt a little cute, but it was work.
Mm-hmm.
So I was collecting the bags and giving out the pins at the counter. But when I stopped working at Sinclair's, she wanted me to be in charge of the haberdashery upstairs.
You left quite an impression.
I left quite an impression on her, because that summer I started working and I went back to her late August and I said, I'm going to go back to school. Didn't know where the money was coming from. And Brownstone had a community college at the time. And I went up there and I checked out the courses. I really wanted to do business administration. That would have allowed 2 years in that school and then a year at CAS. But I didn't, at the time, my vision couldn't see how the Kingston Park going to work and how I'm going to afford to go CAS.
No, man.
At the time.
After the conquest of the $3
because
and the goats.
It seemed insurmountable. So just going, because remember, when I went to the community college, I didn't have the money. It was $6,500 for the year.
Numbers getting bigger though, Dave.
Yeah, it was $6,500 for the year now, going to community college.
Yeah.
So I went to the principal and I said, look, I don't have the money, but I'm going to pay you. And I went back to the lady that was working with, and I said to her,
this is hurry.
Yeah, I said, I don't have the money to go back to school. So I'm going to ask if I can work just 2 days a week. I would work Fridays and I'd work Saturdays. And that was just to get, it wasn't even enough to pay
for the community
college. So my neighbor as well had a drive juta. So what I would do in the evenings when I come from school, sometimes I used to wash the bus for him and get like $100 to help. But even going to Brownstone Community College, there was a lot of times I didn't have any lunch money. So there are a lot of hungry days. And I know that I can tell you can't learn on a hungry stomach. You get distracted. So I used to have to skip school on a Friday in order to get a full day's pay, so that I can go the next 4 days.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't talk about it often.
Yeah.
But I believe that my journey was I just wanted better all the time. And having gone to community college, so the second year was rougher than the first financially. And I didn't pay the second year's school fee until 2 months after I left.
Whoa.
So I went back to the principal and I said, look, and when school was going, I said, I know I don't pay it, but I'm going to pay you. And I started working at a building society.
In Brownstone?
In St. Anne's Bay when I left. After I left, I got a job at a building society in St. Anne's Bay. And I used my first 2 paychecks. I had to, do it in 2 and I paid off my debt after that. So I think mentoring is important and feedback to staff is important. And people need to know that there's something about them that you admire. I recall a lady coming to work at branch one Saturday, and she was like, boy, Dave, I really love how you work. And I said, really? She said, as soon as there's a job in Kingston, I'm going to send for you.
Really?
Yeah. And
this is a lady from building society?
From the building society. And as a matter of fact, that building is right behind the Barita building, right?
That's where they sent for you and you come?
That's where I came.
Whoa.
And I was teller of the year after that.
So that's what getting your bus for you come at town, basically.
Yeah. So I come town and eventually I left that business company and went to the commercial bank in Ligani. It was a part-time work actually, 20 hours a week. I said, but this can't pay my bills. So I found every way to work extra hours, meaning doing the work, I did what I wasn't asked to do and I did what I was asked to do. And I learned how to do everything so that if this person don't come work today, I get to work the extra hours. So my strategy was clear. So my regular pay and my and my extra hours. As a matter of fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I had a box that I kept some old pay slips in, and I took out one of the older one from 2000, and I took it to my daughter, and I said, this is what I was earning at this time. And because I'm trying to encourage her to, I said, this is what I survived on. But one thing that I think is important for every organization, we attract people at different levels, and there might be people within the organization that have dreams and aspirations. I found out about some programs that the bank paid for. I didn't have to pay any money. So I signed up for everything. I signed up for everything. And I did a course, Associate Institute of Canadian Bankers. And I met a lot of people, and so I started craving for more knowledge of finance and how the bank operated and everything. So I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to calculate I wanted to do this. So I had to start from foundation because they didn't recognize the community college thing that I went to. So I went through the very basics. And then having completed the associates, they wrote me and asked me to join the FICB group. Now, at the time, I had no clue what I was getting into. But that allowed me to start interacting with senior people, because I was still a teller at the time. And that allowed me to interact with senior people from different banks, as well as where I was working. And I learned a lot from that. But then I just wanted still to learn more. I recall applying for a full-time job in Halfway Tree. And the manager called me and said, I want you, but I don't want you for the job you applied for. I want you for this other job, which is a slightly higher level. And the branch that I was at, the branch manager called me and said, I know you've been offered this job, but I want you to remain here because of, and I said, let me take the risk. And I remained because, I was...
So what was it that was driving your stock up so high?
The same approach I took when I was younger, being disciplined about work, being the first one there and the last one to leave, was how I operated. Okay. I was willing to do it. I was very flexible. I was willing to do the work. The customers like to interact with me. So
there's a work ethic,
right? I learned. I teach myself how to do things. So there, and I got that question a lot, having been promoted several times within the bank, and the answer would be the same. It's my attitude towards the work, and my willingness to go the extra mile that would have, caused me to be elevated to a different level. So I said that to say it's important that, as managers and senior persons, we encourage team members who demonstrate the right attitude towards work. And if they are not demonstrating the right attitude, it's also our responsibility to share with them your expectations and give them an opportunity to change their trajectory and share, the vision with them. Because I don't want anybody to feel as if I'm not somebody who was born privileged. I'm not somebody who would have, gotten any unfair advantage over anyone else. I worked for it, and persons saw what I was contributing and gave me the opportunity I deserve. And I see my transition to Barita as a continuation of that, because persons would have seen what I've done. And even when people are not watching, you should be your best and give your best, because you never know that you're in a situation where someone you assisted is going to come to your rescue. So what I want to happen is that in this field that we're in, there are clients who are going to remember what you would have done for them, the advice that we would have as an institution, the lives that you would have touched. Because finance is important. it is important to achieving the kind of quality of life that you want. You know, if not everybody may want to live in a particular location or in a big house, but whatever quality of life you want for yourself, finances is a part of it, because it takes cash to care.
Yes.
You want to help a community, you need cash to care. You need to mobilize that cash, and having the knowledge and the skill set to guide persons is very important. And I do believe that, you know, as a country, we, you know, have a lot of youngsters who their circumstances are different from mine, but there's hope. You know, I've seen a lot of stories where persons would have persevered, just like I did. Encouraging, you know, both my direct reports, you know, the advisors at Barita, my prospective customers, that me being a part of this team, you can be assured that your best interest is going to be a part of whatever conversation that I'm having, and that you can trust that your investment journey is in good hands, because of my experience in guiding my own life, and also helping others achieve their goals, that I'm capable of motivating my team to the point where they execute for you and for the benefit of your family.
It's a great story, Dave. It's inspiring. It's inspiring. It really is. Thank you for sharing that. You know, I trying to think of the book title. You know, I was playing with, you know, from goat's milk to finance, the Dave Dixon story. You know, but I mean, I'm joking, but
something I've thought about.
Yeah.
And when it came to me first was having listened to Alvin Day's "If Caterpillars Could Fly, So Can I." You know, more recently I've thought about it again.
Yeah, no, I mean, you talk about writing.
But it's difficult to write, because there are a lot of parts of my journey that, you know, it's very difficult to recall. It's very emotional to recall.
Come on, Dave. It's worth writing, even if you get like some professional help to, you know, put it down or whatever. But it's a great story. It's a great story. Thank you very much for the inspiring story.
Yeah, man.
All right.
I appreciate it. All right, cool.
You've just listened to an episode of the Barita Podcast. The Barita Podcast is available on all Barita's social media platforms. If you would like to invest with Barita Investments Limited, visit our website at barita.com or contact us at 876-926-2681 to get started.